Hey, Michael got cut off guard. Let's go. Yeah, nice one, dude. You're still muted, buddy.
He's still dumbass.
You got caught so off guard.
Oh my god.
Wow.
What's next? Your chair's just gonna collapse.
I just walked in getting my water, and then I
Oh,
didn't have
that's not
I didn't
true.
have Twitch open, so I was just standing up, just like trying to look for Twitch, and then I saw that I was on screen, and then I came to. That's what happened.
And he forgot we had a show, and he was checking to see how the show was going.
I didn't think it was gonna be that quick.
but yeah, welcome back, everybody. It is episode 47, Spoop time. Capital Steams, baby. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, can't see. 47.
We got a couple more till 50, which is crazy.
Yeah, right?
Didn't think we'd. Well, I won't say I didn't think we'd get this far, but it is still pretty crazy.
It shows some level of commitment.
Oh, for sure. Like there's definitely days like didn't want to do this. Days where we didn't have enough content, which we said like those are days. We try not to do the show because we try to put on a good show for you guys. And we're busy too, so like we get caught up doing stuff too. It's kind of why
Life happens.
Return back to a show. Yeah, life happens. Exactly. Probably gonna return back to this kind of show a week format. I think if anything, it'll breathe like some fresh air into it too. Like it already feels like that now. Like I'm already more like ready to talk about kind of some.
Yeah,
things.
it's less stressful.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even though it's small, there's still some element of stress to like having to prepare 2 shows on top of you. Well, you have school and work, but on top of work and just normal and just
you like in a live format.
Yeah.
Like even if this was pre-recorded, I feel like that would knock off a level of stress. But the live format,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, me too. I wouldn't do it any other way. But it definitely, like I won't say you're not in a different mode of being when you do this, right? Like,
yeah, you have to be in front of people, regardless of how many people are watching. There's still you have to put yourself, you have to immerse yourself,
Right, like we can try to be like as genuine and normal as we want on here, but like we do have to act different. Like it's lying if I wasn't saying like I was acting sitting up.
Yeah, exactly. J-Ox, what's up, bro? And yeah, this shit is draining.
Hell yeah, what's up, brother?
Welcome to the stream, bro.
Hell yeah, you're a king too. I see you streaming like it feels like every day, like or all the time. The dedication's nuts.
Yeah, we were talking about changing our schedule or something like that, right?
Yeah, we're thinking about
a week
going back to just our normal Wednesday.
Yeah, and I think we said this too, like ebb and flow, like depends, like
as
news increases or like.
And maybe in a month with the amount of with the volume of what's going on, 2 shows would work better, or maybe it stays really slow and us cutting back to 1 show gives us better shows even though there's less.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we're definitely gonna test the waters here. But yeah, back to 1 show. Gonna be good shows though. We got a special guest today.
Of really only a couple things, and I think that's really a reflection of like what's on the mind nationally right now, right? Like we're gonna talk about it later because we don't have a piece necessarily to talk about it, but obviously the big national story was the George Floyd trial and the verdict that was reached. The police officer going to jail. They haven't done the sentencing yet, but he was convicted of, it was like secondary manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter.
And the trial it's still like it's such a nuts thing that we have to sit there like around our TVs wondering if a guy who very obviously murdered somebody is gonna go to jail or not just because he's a cop. Like the fact that we have to like wonder what's going on is such a reflection of how like just shitty our entire our justice system, our prison system, and our policing system.
It's definitely understandable to like you have to go through the process and everything, but like you said, like it's just a matter that you have to be on the fence of whether or not he's going to be convicted of something or not. When obviously, like you said, he should be.
Yeah,
It's
and
blatant.
did you see the whole thing like where he's on like suicide watch already?
Really? I
But
didn't
yeah,
know.
he's on fucking suicide watch already. It's like he was just so prepared for the system to work in his favor. Now he's just like, oh shit.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure you guys saw that. I think it was like a tweet as well. It was like 7 or some cops have been convicted of, killing somebody since 2005.
Even though like 1,500 people have been killed, or 15,000, I mean, 15,000.
Shooting incidents. Yeah, so it's like
And then
there's no way
also,
it's not, obviously everyone knows that.
historically, Derek Chauvin in the state of Minnesota, he is the first officer ever to be arrested for killing a black man. The first white officer to ever be arrested for killing a black man in the entire state's history.
Wow. Do you
So
think
yeah,
if the trial didn't get as much publicity as it did, do you think it would have just gotten kicked under the rug and he wouldn't have been convicted?
I
you
think
there
it.
was
I
so
think
much
if
pressure on
I
it
think
that
if
they had to do it?
I think if George Floyd's murder didn't happen, this would have never happened.
Oh, of course.
Well, I don't think them like publicizing the trial had anything to do with it at all.
I think Michael does make a certain point here, though. Like, and I think we're all agree on this. And you're totally right. Like in one hand, like how you're saying that this is the first cop in Minnesota to be charged with killing a black man, right? Which
Yeah.
we damn know that's not the first time it's happened, and it's happened since
exactly.
George Floyd was murdered to other black men. But that in one hand historically is a win for us. Like, duh, it's good we got a conviction. But like you're saying, we know this isn't justice. Everyone looks at this and they watch it and they can tell what they're seeing is a show trial, and that even if this guy does get thrown in prison for 40, 50 years, which he will never go to jail for that long, even for a crime as heinous as this, he's not going to go to jail for that long, and he's just it's not going to change the problem that created this in the first place.
I wanted to say that, and also, punishment isn't rehabilitation.
Yes, absolutely.
And us and
humanity. Like, what about Chauvin's humanity? As piece of a shit as he is the retribution of putting him away forever going to change anything?
Yeah, like arrest, putting him away for 60 years doesn't mean in 60 years he's going to realize what he did was wrong.
Right, or in 60 years that's going to change racism.
He can live the rest of his life under the pretense that what he did was justified, and that's the core issue. Him being away for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years doesn't matter when we don't take the steps to try our best to rehabilitate this person. And it's always such a touchy subject, especially in the United States, because even people who consider themselves like lefties, it's when you talk about prison or reform or rehabilitation, everybody gets really, reactionary, because America's prison system has been draconian for so long that you think, oh, guy did this, give him more years, and that'll somehow fix it.
Right. That's our conception of justice, though. We don't
exactly, and it's so old school, and yeah, like it's definitely just like another layer to add to it. Like yes, he is a bad person. What he did was wrong, but just locking him up forever will never fix what happened.
Right. Exactly.
Him understanding through rehabilitative programs and therapy and all this.
Rehabilitation, even though you should.
You should never stop trying, even if you can think he's too far gone and this and that. You can
look in the example of someone like Dylan Roof, the Charleston church shooter. Like, that guy's probably too far gone. Maybe you can't make the effort to rehabilitate him, but it's still not justice, as the only thing you do is to lock up one person for a heinous crime they did. There's like you're saying, we have to address the underlying factors, which obviously the courts can't do, and that's why they don't do that.
And the police can't do it either, which is which is the justification used to increase their funding, is with more policing, less crime. But longer, if
better
crimes
training.
or even just the idea that if you lock people, give people harsher sentences, less crime will happen. If that was any sort of true, America would have the lowest crime rates.
It would be crime-free.
Yeah, exactly. We house a quarter of all all incarcerated bodies are in the United States. Like 25% of the world's population of incarcerated people are here. You think that if like anything that they were saying was true about how just going to jail for longer times is going to fix anything, we would have fixed it a long time ago, and it's just very obviously not true.
Right. The logic doesn't line up at all.
Yeah,
To
and it
pull it back though to like what Michael was saying with, I'm going to reframe this because not publicizing the thing, but I think because of the death of George Floyd and obviously the massive police brutality protests that swept the country the last fucking year now, that obviously pressured them to make this verdict. Like, now, could we have known if he was going to get convicted or not, or the degree of the conviction, if there wasn't this mass, uprising of anti-police brutality protests? We don't know. But we do know absolutely that it was affected because they don't, like we said, since 2005, only 7 officers have been convicted of, murder for shooting people, of tens of thousands of cases. And yeah, this spotlight that has been placed on it. I mean, there's been numerous incidences. This isn't the first time that a massive police brutality movement has come up, but this one specifically, yeah, I think it did spotlight on this. And of course, they had the Justice Department felt the pressure to probably make a conviction because
imagine if they didn't, dude.
If they didn't, they're like, oh fuck, people are going to start rioting.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, when rightfully fucking so, because
right,
that would be But I also think, and hopefully so, that I hope that their strategy isn't right. Like their strategy is to convict one guy, right, throw him away, and then they're like, hey, we don't got to make any reform change. We'll just pause up, right? Or maybe another conviction or two on these really egregious, shows of violence. But to change the whole underlying system, we don't got to do that. I think people are fed up, and I think this movement, as it realizes that they're crocodile tears and the system isn't offering real change, it's going to stoke that fire, I think, and hopefully it does more things like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real physical change, material change.
I guess before we move on from this, I guess like another important part I forget where I was listening, but like a huge part about like what's like movement killers, especially with stuff like this, is the commoditization of like these movements, like people electing themselves as like leaders of Black Lives Matter and like trying to profit off of trying to like commercialize and really just make it not necessarily mainstream, but um like corporatize these movements. And that's really like something that neuters a movement, is when it loses all of its grassroots and becomes kind of just more of this figurative thing.
Yeah,
and
did you guys
and,
know what Nancy Pelosi said about?
yeah, she was like yeah, like George Floyd sacrificed his life. It's like that exactly, that is things that are like just knives in the back of the movement.
Right.
Or
I
the
think if you're astute to that, though, it tells you everything you need to know about like Nancy Pelosi and their brand of politics.
Because I mean, we all remember the kente cloth thing. Like,
yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
Well, she meant it in the correct context, because for her it was a get out free card.
Yeah, in the same way this is, I think he's sacrificed himself for us, is basically what she's saying, right? And yeah, you're right. I think we do have to watch out for people like adopting the lane, especially with like Black Lives Matter, and we've seen it with the DSA. They get corporatized and they get sucked in, and we can't forget that it's about improving the lives of everyday normal people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a slogan or any.
And without that, there's no point.
Yeah, exactly. Hell yeah, yeah, and that was good because we can use that to kind of context just a couple articles we have. Let's get through them. Yeah, let's.
Yeah.
You actually have the first one. Yeah, let's.
Yeah, I can go ahead and. So we have this from the more perfect union account on Twitter.
They
Yeah,
do
please follow them.
work.
They do awesome work. We used them a lot when we were talking about the Bessemer, Alabama factory, the Amazon warehouse rather, and their efforts to unionize. Um, yeah. Starting off from the headline: exclusive, more perfect union has obtained a sweeping 150-page draft GOP voter suppression bill that would severely restrict voting in Ohio. This legislation includes provisions that are even more radical than Georgia's new laws, which have spurred a national backlash. And so we have a short 3-minute video. If we want to go ahead and play that, it will explain things in good detail and make it, I think, very easy to take in. And then I think it has infographics, so you want to cut the cameras for us.
Ohio Republicans have written a voter suppression bill so draconian that it makes Georgia's new law look mild in comparison. According to a draft of the bill obtained by More Perfect Union, Republicans in the Ohio General Assembly are preparing an all-out assault on early and mail-in voting. Ohioans will now need 2 forms of ID to vote early or by mail, and each method of voting would have slightly different ID requirements. The confusing new system would be particularly burdensome for those without a driver's license. The GOP bill will make it nearly impossible to physically return an absentee ballot in Ohio by outlawing ballot drop boxes entirely, unless the governor declared a state of emergency. And it institutes what amounts to a poll tax by banning prepaid postage on mail ballots, forcing people to pay to vote. The legislation also cuts early voting, including on the last Monday before the election, one of the most popular early voting days in the state. Ohio already has some of the most restrictive and racist voting laws in the country. 2 million voters have been purged from the rolls since Barack Obama won the state in 2012, and Ohio is one of the most gerrymandered states in the country.
Yeah, look at that.
As a result, voter turnout in Ohio's predominantly black neighborhoods has dropped dramatically in recent elections, and Republicans now control a disproportionate share of the state government. This new bill isn't a response to any actual emergency or even a minor problem. In fact, Ohio's Republican Secretary of State said himself that Ohio just ran the, quote, most successful election it ever had in 2020. Instead, it is part of a nationwide Republican campaign to suppress the votes of young people, low-income Americans, and people of color. Research shows that voter ID disproportionately impact these groups of voters. The fewer opportunities people have to drop off or cast their ballot, the less likely they are to vote. These measures hurt working people who work long hours, don't have childcare, and otherwise can't make it out during Election Day. During the first 3.5 months of 2021, over 360 voter suppression bills were introduced in state legislatures across the country. Georgia's law has drawn national outrage by requiring just 1 form of ID and reducing the number of ballot drop boxes. But the bill drawn up by Ohio Republicans could have even more devastating consequences. Beyond the state battle, Congress can act nationally by passing the For the People and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Acts, which would protect the right to vote and end partisan and racial gerrymandering. The House of Representatives has already passed this bill. Now, it is up to the Senate Democrats to get it done.
No, so it's not happening.
Yeah, that's where the dreams die. Is the Senate.
Yeah, it's the Senate Democrats is where all good things go to die.
Oh, but yeah, like that video is just insanely informative in 3 minutes, and
Scary.
it's complete insanity. Like 2 forms of ID, and that's on top of already having to register yourself to vote. You're already identifying yourself, which is something that people never talk about when talking about voter ID. Is you already have to register yourself. You already have to provide.
Yep.
Like you have to go somewhere and register. They have to know who you are to vote.
Yeah,
But
it's just crazy that we're not even like at some kind of automated voter registration thing now. I mean, we could be, obviously, right? But
of course,
this is why we're not.
yeah,
It's such a key state too. Like we covered the election and we watched the prior one too. Like Ohio was such a huge battleground state.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we've talked about how both presidents Democrat or Republican or stooges for corporate power. But regardless, these things do affect, like it's saying, local politics in the state too. Like if your state's completely controlled by Republicans, like yeah, Republicans or Democrats are both going to sell it to the corporations, but what's this going to do for abortion rights in Ohio? Because
absolutely,
that's not looking
what's
good.
any yeah, there's any topic under the umbrella of social social
Right,
issues.
social issues that don't tie into economic issues that Democrats are somewhat better on, not much, but because of stuff like this, they're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
In a state like Ohio, where not only is there a huge black population, but like how I was saying, we should all context this to our first conversation about the George Floyd trial. I can't remember her name, but it was what was it, 15, 16-year-old girl that was just killed in
Oh yeah,
Columbus, Ohio.
yeah, she's.
I mean, there's like a direct correlation there between like the politics and what's happening in their state, the power that the police have, because of things like this. And yeah, I mean, it results in the death of a 16-year-old, 15-year-old.
Yeah, it's pure insanity, and the same day as the fucking trial.
Right.
Like we just can't catch a break, and
And I
it's
think just
that
sorry.
shows more than anything. Just sure we convicted this guy, but this doesn't change anything. And it's in in a respectful way, and it's super weird to try to tokenize somebody dying as but yeah, it's fucked. Like nothing's changed, even though we convicted a guy for a crime he obviously committed. Broad daylight, multiple camera angles, multiple people saw it. Yeah.
I think just like in that case, how the verdict, although it's something we like, it's not solving the underlying issue, right, of police brutality in the country. I think this is analogous, right? Like, voting issues was one of the voting rights was like the marquee word in the last election, right? Of like issues.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of celebrities came out to support voting rights, whether that was, helping to organize, places to vote but it's not solving the underlying issue, which is, are we a fucking democracy in itself? Look at this, the gerrymandering, the restriction on voting, suppression of the black vote. Doesn't matter how much you try to extend, voting rights and, even if like Perfect Union was saying like things they should do were pass laws through Congress to ensure voting rights, right? Some of those things don't matter because they don't address the underlying problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, yeah, I mean, is capitalism writ large, but obviously we can go into more detail.
Yeah. Are you? I think I'm all wrapped up with this one. And before we move on to the next one, I do want to bring up the shit happening in Florida.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to pull up, but basically, today in the news, Florida unveiled a new set of anti-riot laws, and I have this piece I'm reading from the Orlando Sentinel. I'll actually just go ahead and put it in links really quick, Carlos, if you want to pull it up, just so it's on the screen, and so you can put it in the YouTube. So basically, I'm just gonna skip through a little bit of this, but basically, there's a public event. DeSantis was there with Attorney General of the state, bunch of police, and just went over literally anti-riot laws, just super unconstitutional right off the bat. So your First Amendment right to to protest, and it's being cracked down in the state of Florida. States' rights, except they made sure in this press hearing to exclaim that if local cities tried to do any sort of defunding of police departments, that the state would stop it. They would stop it at the state's level. So they don't actually care about the it's small government and individual liberties. It's only when it's in their
democracy in general,
yeah.
right?
It's only when it's in their face. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene openly says on Twitter that democracy doesn't work. we don't have to pretend anymore that the new Republican Party cares about the democracy. That's that old guard is slowly being phased out. But yeah, like it's and like something to add on about these laws. Where let me see if I can throw it up really or find it up really quick. Well, yeah. So this law would, besides arresting people for rioting, you'd also be thrown with excessive bail and fines. Like they specifically say in the bill, it's going to be excessive bails and fines, which is against your Eighth Amendment. Which is what is it called? Cruel and unusual punishment, purposely making something worse just to punish you. That's your eighth. You have protections under your Eighth Amendment from that. So the Republican Party, the so-called Constitution people, the states' rights, small government, follow the Constitution, don't change it. They're literally just they're taking the Constitution and ripping it up and right in front of you and pissing on it. They just dunked on two of your rights. They'll scream about the Second Amendment all day, but then as soon as it comes to things like having other ideas or wanting to help people, they're like, okay, no, never mind. That fucking sucks. That's stupid.
Can't make money on those.
Exactly, because that's what it is. That's all money for these people.
Yeah,
And
party.
And something notable that I wanted to, from like when I was watching clips of it, I believe he's like the police chief, whatever the fuck he is, just some old loser in like the police outfit. He holds up two pictures of like two screenshots of like some riot or like protest or whatever the fuck. He's like, you see this? This is what's gonna get you locked up. And he's like making it a point, and then he pulls up a picture of fucking Disney World or whatever, and sees little black girl jumping, like smiling, and she's like, "This is the Florida I know," and it's like, no, it's not, dude. You don't care about that stuff.
He's doing the H.W. Bush with the crack in the Oval Office. Like, I stopped this from going to a teenager right in front of the White House.
This is yellow cake.
Yeah, hey, don't drop that shit, man. Yeah, dude, it's unbelievable though.
No, it's insanity.
I heard they were gonna call it the anti-protest law at first, but they're like, "Oh, that won't sell." So we
gotta make sure to say riot.
Yeah, I mean that's why they say it, right? Because like you're saying,
right.
it's a blatant attack against First Amendment rights.
Yeah, but I mean, let's just hope that this gets taken all the way to the highest courts it can go to, and
that they don't also fail us too.
Yeah,
right?
It's the Supreme Court. They'll probably fail us, but yeah, if there's any sort of sense left, maybe this will fail. But yeah, it's then this is only going to continue to happen, and there's no pushback from the Democrats at all.
I like that you pointed out how disingenuous the Republican talking point of like we're the small government local party. It's all about local politics. Like
yeah, I mean,
you guys literally glassing local politics to get what you guys want done.
It's been like that forever, dude. Like Republicans have always just been the people to say that they care about states' rights, and then as soon as minority groups or working class people want to change something within the state using states' rights, they're like, okay, never mind, no.
Yeah, time for the Fed to step in.
Exactly. Because when they say states' rights, they're dog whistling. They're talking about land-owning white people. That's what they're talking about. They don't care about the poor whites. They don't care about black people. They don't care about brown people, Asian people. They don't care. Like they don't give a fuck. They want more affluent white people to be in control of what goes on in their society. And and that's just, you can run away from it and pander all you want, but that's the reality. Not pander, but
right, like sugarcoat it, change it up.
Pivot. You could try to pivot away from it all you want, but that's the reality.
Yeah, and they show their true face here. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Michael, do you have any thoughts on maybe this general discussion, whether it's this one or the last piece too? I thought that was interesting. Also, voter suppression.
Voter suppression. Yeah, I mean it's fucking dumb. I mean, you guys have already like talked about it pretty much. I don't really have anything much to say.
Okay.
Fog.
Agu. You guys want to move to the next thing, our
Yeah.
last thing before we take a little break here?
Yeah, go ahead and
get our guest in.
Yeah, we have a little special guest we'll announce to you after we do this piece, and then we'll take our break. We'll bring him on, and we hope you guys enjoy that as well.
Yes.
Yep.
So I'll try to get through this quick because we kind of touched on it last show because it was semi-news because there wasn't really anything going on. Was Biden had this claim, or at least his administration had the claim that they were going to leave Afghanistan, right? Finally, after 20-some years of bombing their country daily, we've decided to leave. But the reality is, and we've talked about the real factors at play here, what really decides foreign policy, what really decides what goes on in this country. We've talked about the goons that have filled up the Biden administration, right? We've talked about Anthony Blinken. We've talked about I can't remember his name, Lloyd Austin, the black guy that they had.
Yeah.
From Raytheon that they tried to head the State Department with, and like, hey, it's diversity instead of he's a fucking warmonger, and we're putting him, in a spot where he's gonna make more money for private contracting companies and blow up more brown people. Point is, yeah, the Biden administration is just being filled by warmongers, criminals, goons. And so when his administration and Biden says we're going to end the war in Afghanistan, just like every other fucking president has said it the last 5 times over, we should take that with a massive grain of salt because we know he's lying at his ass because that's not what this administration is gearing up to. Even just the statements we've read from Blinken, like he straight up says, like, he thinks Venezuela is a terrorist regime, and that he backed up. One of the last things Trump did before he left office was put Cuba back on the list of international terrorists. And Anthony Blinken, the new State Department guy's like, that's cool. We're chilling with that. That's fine. Cuba, the first country to fucking find a vaccine in the pandemic, an island country. They're the biggest terrorists in the world.
Yeah, Cuba who routinely sends their insanely skilled doctors all around the world consistently and constantly to go help people.
Fucking
and
terrorists, dude.
Yeah, sent massive amounts of fucking doctors to Brazil to help them earlier on in the pandemic. Like, it's such fucking insanity.
Like, doesn't the U.S. typically bomb like Doctors Without Borders?
Yep. Oh yeah, and all kinds of different organizations and groups. We've even covered with George Tenet and the leaks there about basically the CIA being complicit in 9/11. They carried out assassinations on private citizens and U.S. citizens, children, for God's sakes. So yeah, all of that information, all that's happening, all that the Biden administration has shown, we should not expect that they're going to leave Afghanistan. And this piece from the Gray Zone really covers what's really happening. So I'll go ahead and read it for you. It says, Biden isn't ending the Afghanistan war, he's privatizing it. Which, hey, that's a familiar story with some of our other wars, huh? It says, special forces, Pentagon contractors, intelligence operatives will remain. Over 18,000 Pentagon contractors remain in Afghanistan, while official troops number 2,500. Joe Biden will withdraw this smaller group of soldiers while leaving behind U.S. Special Forces, mercenaries, and intelligence operatives, privatizing and downscaling the war, but not ending it. On April 14th, President Joe Biden announced, this is what I was referring to, that he would end the U.S.'s longest war and withdraw U.S. troops from Afghanistan on the 20th anniversary of September 11th, which is a fucking hilarious day to do it on, especially considering it's disingenuous and they're not actually withdrawing from the Middle East. It's just a big fuck you to everyone that lives there. Over 6,000 NATO troops will also be withdrawn by that time. It says, quote, war in Afghanistan was never meant to be a multi-generational undertaking, which is also a lie from Biden because it was meant to be a multi-generational undertaking and they, by every means, meant to be there for as long as they can. He said that during his remarks from the White House Treaty Room. The same location from which President George W. Bush had announced the war was beginning in October 2001, where he says, quote, we were attacked. We went to war with clear goals. We achieved those objectives. Bin Laden is dead and Al-Qaeda is degrading Afghanistan. and it's time to end the forever war. Biden's claim that he is ending the forever war is misleading. As the New York Times reported, even, the United States would remain after the formal departure of U.S. troops with a, quote, shadowy combination of clandestine special operation forces, Pentagon contractors, and covert intelligence operatives. Their mission will be to, quote, find and attack the most dangerous Qaeda or Islamic State threats, which is hilarious, saying Biden saying that we've defeated Al-Qaeda, these groups, by the way, that we funded and propped up, saying that we ended them. And then at the same time, his administration is like, but we have to leave private contractors there to deal with Al-Qaeda. And so it's like, are they gone or are they not? Like, what are you saying? And that's all I'm going to read, because it pretty much tells the full story short. And I think this is important because when we look towards some of our other occupations, like the invasion of Iraq, where we had to withdraw soldiers much earlier, normal civilian soldiers, right? Look at what we've done there. Like, it's pretty much the same process, where slowly over time we've given this illusion that we're leaving Iraq, right? And we're taking our boys home, but yet we're increasing private contractors in the area, and the CIA and other covert operations are increasing in the area, and we, most of them obviously we don't know about. And in case you think like somehow, the troops leaving, but yet like these small clandestine forces staying is like somehow more safe for the people. I mean, I don't know if we've talked about it explicitly, but like the Nisour Square incident, where Blackwater contractors, private contractors, went into a public square, and lit up, a bunch of civilians, killed children. Kids' brains were hanging out in front of his fucking dad in their car, and they were just driving to the market. They were not shot at or anything. They just basically lit up civilians for no reason. Those are private contractors. This is the people we're leaving there. They're even less accountable.
The rules of engagement are just so much more different when you
Yes.
belong to nobody.
Yeah, exactly. And like, not even just the rules of engagement, but like the rules of accountability, right? Like,
yeah.
With I can't remember his first name, Gallagher, the war criminal who killed Iraqi children.
Oh.
And who Trump pardoned. That guy was a soldier. He wasn't a private contractor, and look how scot-free he got off. These private contractors, they're basically liable to nothing, just like the Nisour Square guys are.
Well, we had the story. There's the 4 guys. They're responsible for like some war crime, and Trump pardoned them.
Yeah, that was the Nisour one. They pardoned. It was the Nisour Square one. Yeah.
Even when some small amount of accountability is taken.
Yeah, just like that, it's over.
Exactly.
Yeah, which I think, and in that plan, the quote where Biden's saying, our plan was not to come to Afghanistan and stay here forever and have no, that was the plan, because now it's to our generation, generations past, it seems like that is the reality, right? We're in Afghanistan permanently. There is nothing to change that. And it makes it so much easier for us to for Biden and his administration to further privatize it and just endlessly continue this war for profit.
And also, like a thing I was thinking of, like Joe Biden's like the perfect president for this kind of shift to happen, is because you can be the Democrat guy to go into the guise of, oh, I pulled the troops out, I brought the troops home, but you just don't talk about the quiet part like Trump would do. You don't talk about the fact that we're just privatizing the war in Afghanistan. You just say, we're bringing the rest of the troops home. Love me, love me, love me. But then we just send more and more of these Blackwater guys to go just murder brown people. And then you still get all the publicity.
Right, you get the best of both worlds in Biden's case.
Exactly, yeah.
You get positive coverage, but you also get
you still get the extraction. You still get the extraction of resources and the just geopolitical power of being a force in the Middle East, and even more of a power, because all you have to do is just wash your hands with whoever gets caught. Be like, don't know them, didn't send them, they went on their own accord, no idea what the fuck happened. Which is like what happened with the what is it, Silver Lake or whatever, when they tried to go Venezuela and they got caught by fishermen.
Right. Yeah. The private contractor.
Yeah, like it's so obvious who sent them. But Trump and the rest of the administration just washed their hands of the situation, and that was that.
Right. That's a good point too. Like Biden, yeah, he can play this angle where he's acting like we're removing ourselves from the Middle East when we're not, and to tack onto that, like that's not new too. Like he's doing his version of it, right? But we know Obama did that, withdrew and surged troops, throughout his administration. And we know Trump did that too, right? Like he campaigned on ending the forever wars, and even at some junctures in his presidency claimed he was going to remove forces from Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah,
and he both never did, and when he did, it was just like Biden, disingenuous and not true.
Yeah, when Trump did it, he took those troops and moved them closer towards Russia's borders.
Right. Put them in Germany.
Yeah, just station them somewhere else, ready to go back to Afghanistan, or put pressure on Russia or its allies.
Right, which who knows if Biden might be doing that as well too.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
We have a friend. He isn't Leo's brother in Japan now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we see that increasing all the time. People shipping out to Japan and Germany. I have a cousin that lives there with her husband. Like,
yeah, I know somebody that's in Japan right now.
Yeah, and that's all just part of this front that they're, we're the aggressors, right? Like we're going after everybody. We have the 800 some military bases across the planet, right? And here's another example of us being that dominant force that just shits on everybody. It's gross. But yeah, we'll continue to hold this administration's feet to the fire. I think this is like one of our niches, right? Like foreign policy and Middle East.
Like this is something where we're in our bag with this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like when speaking, I think like early on and us focusing on who he was filling his administration up with, and we talked about Trump too, like who he would fill his administration up with. It's important because this is what, their views and their ideologies, it can tell you what's going to happen. And, we more or less could have predicted like this was going to happen based on who he was filling his cabinet with.
Absolutely. And yeah, Jose, just better democracy, brother. It's all about democracy. I love my country, and I want other places to be like my country. I got the boots deep in my throat, brother.
You mean you
voter
want
registration or voter suppression rather in other countries? Right?
You want other countries to be your country now?
No.
Yeah, no, be part. Yeah.
We need less people to vote here, but we need free and fair elections everywhere else.
Right. We need Cuba to be part of Florida.
You remember that fucking Bill Kristol tweet? Is like,
yeah, that was recent, right?
Castro quits. Then we tell Cuba that if they become a state, we'll lift the sanctions on their people. It's like scumbag.
Yeah, we're gonna make them a state and keep the sanctions on.
And Bill Kristol's someone that was. Let's talk about that actually. Bill Kristol, if people don't know him, he was like one of the mouthpieces for the Iraq War, and was part of that lib section of the Republican administration. But now he's been wholeheartedly adopted in the last, since Trump became president, really, as part of the resistant liberals, right? Yeah, anti-Trump. And now he's gotten absorbed into basically the think tank of the Democratic Party. And like how we were saying earlier, like where they put Trump last second put Cuba on the state-sponsored terror list. Like for such an anti-Trump guy, look, they fall exactly the same on foreign policy though. So
yeah, Bill Kristol's one of those guys like John Mackey, where if you see him in public, it's your civil. Yeah, there's a very high chance I risk it all just to do the world a favor.
You have a civil duty.
Yeah,
if you see him.
It's your civil duty to rid. I'm not gonna in a video game.
Yeah, in a video game, you would end his life.
But yeah, anyway. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and go to our break. When we come back, we're going to have our special guest, Abram, Big Abe, who's also, happy birthday to him. I think it's at midnight is his official birthday, but...
Yeah, should we ask him the time? Like we're his girlfriend or something? We're like, what's your zodiac? What time were you born?
Yeah, what's your sign? But yeah, anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and be right back. When we come back, we'll have Big Abe with us, and we're gonna be talking about some Mexico labor laws. Big Abe, yes. Big Abe spam in the chat. So yeah, we'll be right back. Enjoy this song. I believe it's Omega Nova. He has a new project coming very soon. I believe. Not very soon. Soon.
Sounded like it's big too. Like he sounded like he was really
Yeah,
proud.
he said he. That's what it
He
looked
said
like on
something like,
Twitter.
"I've been working like my whole life for a long time for this one," or something.
Yeah, so super excited about this project. But yeah, we'll be right back.
Okay.
Follow and subscribe.
Play ball but get some reinforcements. You know that be a safe call as they call I split. Never seen again, hope it means to an end. Sorry, can't be friends, well it really depends on the matter at hand. Before I shatter the sand and go and splatter Japan like Godzilla. Natural born killer on the rise. Before civilians decide it was all just a lie, so they cry. As the monuments begin to crumble and tumble, they started stumbling, bumbling, kinda humbling. Nah, I just fly by on my makeshift spaceship, thinking damn, Superman never saved shit. JLA need to hurry up and fire him before the little Padawans go and try my room. I'm tired of carrying this heavy bag of street smarts. Give it to the next girl I meet, she'll be my sweetheart. Look, got you going, girl, come in. Let me show you what's up. I'll show you all the things that got us going. Please see me before. You know, got me going, unoriginal. To the club. And this is how we go now.
Yo,
We're back.
we're back, and we have our special guest in the server. I will go ahead and unmute you now. Abram, can you hear us? Sweet.
And we got him. Let's go.
Yep.
Got him.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Thinking
Carl,
is
can we just
back,
say-
live from Gitmo again.
Oh fuck. Can we?
Yeah.
What was the last episode number you were on? Do we even?
Episode 14.
Damn, that's crazy though. To
Wait,
think.
yeah,
'Cause that, I mean,
that's a
it
lot of
doesn't
content.
feel that long ago. Yeah.
And certainly turning 19 also doesn't feel that long ago.
Yeah. Do you know what time you were born, Abraham?
10:35
Oh,
a.m.
Oh, morning,
okay.
morning, baby.
Okay,
morning,
okay.
yes, yes.
You know what they
Yep.
say about morning babies, right? I don't. So I was just saying.
I was just curious if you did.
Yeah, I know what to say about night babies.
Got the fire
I don't.
smoke detector fixed here.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
nice, nice.
And so for those of you who don't know me, Abraham Rangel, a high school friend of theirs, and one of their most devoted followers.
Hell yeah. No, I wouldn't even say one of. I would say the.
Our biggest comrade.
Yeah, definitely our biggest follower, no doubt. Like if you were a Patreon donor, like you'd be like the $500 donor or whatever that gets on the special call.
And today is actually an impromptu appearance. A surprise guest. I approached the host here with an update on Mexico's labor laws, labor reforms. Let's go to the tweet. There.
Yeah, so Abraham, kind of like walk us through. I mean, yeah, because what you sent us, all this information at like 5, 6, and we could have covered it, but obviously this is your wheelhouse. We've had you on talking about the drug war before. We want to have you on again to talk about the pandemic in Mexico. Sorry, but we thought this would be, this is important, and obviously once again it's in your wheelhouse. So kind of like walk them through why this is important.
All right, so today while I was searching on Twitter on the Mexican Chamber of Deputies page, as well as the Senate, go to the tweet, Carlos. There. Oh, there it is. Today the Senate approved with a supermajority reform on labor laws. So click the photo to reform provisions of the Federal Workers Law, Social Security Law, Fiscal Tax Code, Federal State Workers Law, and what else? And add provisions to the Constitution, because this is regarding subcontractual labor as well as outsourcing. Go to the next tweet. Right. Photo, and as we'll see here, as many of Mexico's workers are in the informal economy, and this is also to strengthen unionization at President AMLO's promotion and behest, as this law was proposed actually back at the end of last year. Let's go to the next article. And as the headline states, Mexico restricts subcontracting with a new law. It's a Mexican bill that aims to bring more workers into the formal economy by sharply limiting companies' ability to subcontract. Labor cleared a final legislative hurdle on Tuesday with a vote approval in the Senate. The government of Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador had proposed the initiative in November, prompting concern in the private sector in both Mexico and the United States. The reform prohibits companies from relying solely on contracting. What we are doing is claiming the rights of workers. Union leader and Senator Napoleon Gomez Urrutia, who chairs the Labor Commission, said during this discussion. Now, subcontracting will only be allowed for specific tasks that are not part of the main economic activity of the contractor. Mexico is a country of stark economic inequality with the lowest minimum wage among industrialized nations, or the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And as mentioned, more than half the workers are in the informal economy, as well as self-employed. Next article. And also earlier this year, Mexico's minimum wage was raised scroll a bit down, Carlos. Permitted subcontracting, as mentioned, only specialized services will only be allowed in the following situations as shown on screen. That things that are not part of the core business of economic activity and will only be allowed for recruiting, and outsourcing will be used by relevant companies for the process of intermediation, selecting and training candidates so that third-party employers may hire them directly. And other consequences right there. The major effect of this amendment is that companies may no longer make a tax deduction for outsourcing services. Mexico's tax authority will be the inspector of the structure. If the new regulation is not accepted by tax authorities, payments may not be deducted as a subtracting concept in chapter and must be paid under the appropriate section. And also this is also geared towards the gig economy. So Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, they will be recognized as employees then.
Wow.
Then
which is more than we could say.
Yeah,
Contracted.
that's huge
Yeah,
considering that California
here
can't
the
even do
state.
that.
Independent contract, that was the term I was looking for, more than that.
Right.
And yep. And also in politics and also in unionization, just as I shared a month ago through Twitter, AMLO has been duking it out with a couple of Canadian mining firms over representation and back taxes, paying back taxes from the mining firms. And one of the goals of this administration, for all its flaws and shortcomings, of course, has been getting hundreds of millions of dollars worth of back taxes from, let's say, Walmart of Mexico and FEMSA, which is a holding group that owns OXXO, convenience stores, and Coca-Cola of Mexico. And despite the initial skepticism for the Bloomberg piece, Mexico seeks to ban outsourcing. Scroll down. The business and labor leaders have now come to an agreement on phasing out outsourcing. The group agreed during a meeting at the National Palace. This is from 2 weeks ago. On Monday to prohibit the outsourcing of personnel to third-party firms, except for specialized work outside companies making activity. And as mentioned, President AMLO said the important deal was reached after among union heads, business leaders, and top lawmakers by providing detail. Business lobby seems to be saying a separate statement that profit sharing will be limited to avoid possible distortions in capital-intensive companies. Yeah. Now for this one of the campaign promises AMLO's has quite fulfilled on. Recognizing union rights and giving more leeway to them. He's a populist in that sense, so he falls short on certain issues.
Right, and you've even touched on those before, but I think in this case, it's pretty clear that this is the right move. I mean, maybe we can give some of that. I mean, obviously, you're going to go on to talk about the Constitution here, but as we do that, let's kind of set the context for why this is important. Like you're saying, AMLO is doing the populist thing, right? Which is to hopefully limit the outsourcing and increase unionization, right? And
yeah,
what is the effect this is going to have? Should have.
Perhaps make the lower classes go up the economic ladder by providing provisions for unionization. create a healthy, growing middle class, worker class as well.
Yeah, to
Right.
slowly start to give
And more-
back and give people access to higher wages.
Yeah, something to ponder about on his proposed fourth transformation of Mexico. Even though part of its idealist and misguided notions, this is one that could lead the country forward. Even though the fourth transformation can't happen overnight.
Right, but these are like, this is a clear step in the right direction, though. Like you're saying, like no
Yeah.
holds barred, and yeah, I think even further than that, like, we haven't really done like a deep dive on like the the history of NAFTA and trade deals and outsourcing, but all those effects clearly over time have destroyed third world countries and the global South, and this is basically an ulterior narrative, right? Like that has been the narrative the last 50 years is outsourcing, corporate dominance, pushing more people into informal economy if you can so that you could further exploit them. So yeah, like you're saying, this is a definite change in the right direction.
Scroll down. There we go. Outsourcing was one of the several friction points between the government and Mexico business that slowed investments after interventionist policies by López Obrador as the cancellation of a new airport in Mexico City, and more recently, legislative measures that rolling back some market reforms. The president had sent the outsourcing bill to lawmakers late last year, arguing that current arrangements unfairly limit employer obligations and evade taxes. Ties into what I mentioned. But business thought fought back and increased costs would further complete the recovery from last year's deep recession, opening a period of negotiation with the government. Business elite were skeptical about this, but after a tough negotiating, it bent the heel towards recognizing the rights of the workers.
Right, which hopefully they came to that decision in realizing that the workers are building power and increasing, right? And this is a step in that direction also, but
also among other a judicial reform recently to root out corruption and have a little more oversight in the judicial branch, and also mentioning the energy market. That's to reverse the privatization of the energy market under Peña Nieto, previous administration. Might not be executed the best way right now, but the immediate profit and put emphasis on Pemex and the state-owned oil company and the CFE, the Federal Electricity Commission. It's under the idea of making the energy sector a public resource, which the CFE was created in 1960 to provide electricity for all Mexicans, and also with we're trying to backtrack on the energy reform. It's to make costs cheaper, and I've heard the claim that for big corporations pay less per capita than regular consumers, even less than like small businesses.
right.
And with midterms coming up in June, this will be one of the reasons why Morena, the ruling party and ruling coalition, outpaces the competition, like about 2-1 in the polls. Even though the pandemic is not really the strongest point of the government.
Right.
they will still vote for Morena, or they kind of resonate with AMLO on backgrounds, and they, in theory, feel more represented by the party platform and the establishment parties, which is in alliance together, the PRI, the PAN, and the PRD, which was AMLO's previous party, but they sold out and joined the establishment.
Yep. Yeah, we can only hope reforms like this, pushing for more unionization and actually, doing something about just corporate greed, like hopefully that will increase his popularity among the public. Like, but we'll have to see.
Now to the Constitution.
Yes.
And right here, this the next Constitution, as it was as of the last revision, Article 123. This is where labor and social security and work unionization and workers' rights are addressed. The top section A. This is concerning the workers. That includes 8-hour workday. Everyone is entitled to a useful job. Scroll down. And also there's also no gender wage gap as entitled by the Constitution. Scroll down. And where it says Part B, that part capital B. There it's the rights of workers. You can have this for reference once this video is uploaded to YouTube. But this is where certain provisions for protections on the gig economy will be added. And also this as you notice, this Constitution lists out many provisions. Mexico's constitutional and legal system is civil code, unlike in the United States, which is a common law jurisdiction. And here the statutes uphold the laws more than judicial precedent of courts and customs and what's already written.
Right. Yeah, but this is good, giving everyone like a good look at this, and you're saying it would go in this section.
Hours of the union and capital.
Right.
I think it's interesting when he first said revision. Like I haven't heard like in America, you don't ever hear like anything that has to do with revision of the Constitution.
Oh no.
Almost midnight.
Yeah. I think that word's banned here because just the whole.
And your homeboy is 20.
Oh, is it? Did it turn midnight?
Yep.
Let's go!
Oh, happy birthday, LeBron.
I mean, if we're being technical, Abraham.
Yeah, technically at 10:35 a.m.
Technically, in Western Canada, you're still
young.
no, Eastern. You still you're still gonna get
Canada. At specific time. Homeboy's 20. The Alaska, I'd still be 19.
Hell yeah.
In Alaska.
Well, I think that I was referring to the drinking age, but I think the drinking age in East, it's either 19 or 20, and then I can't remember because it's between each
the province
or whatever. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll buy you a beer.
No, we will not buy anybody.
Oh yeah, we will not buy an underage person a beer. But if a beer shows up at your door, just. Well, okay. I think that pretty much we didn't have like a whole lot tonight. Abraham, thank you so much for coming on and that was perfect. Like how you put everything. The issue is important and clearly is like, I mean, the issue of unionization and going against outsourcing is an issue close to our heart and something we've talked about before.
Yeah. Perfectly brought up as your phrase says. The slogan, workers of the world unite, and this is one that's granting leeway for that. And hopefully these new reforms and laws, as well as the ones already present in the Constitution, are enforced, especially in like where outsourcing is prevalent.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In the border, especially in the borderlands, whereas Jennifer Ruiz said,
Right.
it's basically legal anarchy over there.
Yeah, and they just straight up exploit people down there, and they're just
There's nothing anybody can do about it.
No oversight. You know, they're just putting people in factories, and that's how we kind of referenced it a minute ago with like the whole movement of NAFTA and the expansion of international trade, right? Like,
and
without having oversight on corporations, this is what happens.
And during the pandemic, try as it might, despite government's orders, there were times where factories refused to close, and they said they were going to close, but they just kept operating under their watch.
Right, which we should
corporations by the politicians as well, like the cartels.
Right. So you guys remember we covered the it was here, the Tyson factory that like they were betting on the lives, like who was gonna die of COVID at the factory. Dude. That's I mean, I know that's in the US, but like just like you're saying there, like I think if there's no accountability on them, of course they're gonna exploit the shit out of those people. That's just what they've done. Abraham, thank you so much for coming on. Let's so let's just sign it off. Let's sign it off with Abraham here.
So thank you guys, all of you, so much for watching. We had a pretty clear and concise episode today. We talked about the important things. We had a special guest, first one in a long while.
I know, right?
It was cool to have a returning guest as well. Thank you again so much, Abraham.
He'll be back too. We still have to talk about the pandemic in Mexico and the drug. There's too much to talk about. Honestly.
Honestly.
Thank you guys.
I feel like talking about the pandemic and also to tie it in the upcoming midterms in Mexico.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I'd need 2 episode segments for that.
Yeah. You just keep in contact with us, and we can create like for that specifically. We can create something before, so that it's just more concise. Like this one was perfect. This segment, because I think it was super concise. So
again, thank you guys so much. Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and get out of your hair now. We really appreciate all of you for watching. For all the new people, I saw a couple of new names join. Don't be afraid to follow if you liked what you heard. Also, if you're new here, and you like what you heard, drop a follow. And if you want to support us further, you can subscribe for $4.99. Or adding your Twitch Prime account, which is absolutely free, costs you no extra money. You just link Amazon Prime, and you're in. Also, we're gonna set up probably like a little something later. I saw Bram. Did you have one more thing to say before you get out of here?
Yeah. For those of you new here, you can check out my previous appearance on the podcast, episode 14, Big Juicy Ava, where I covered also Mexico, the Cienfuegos case, the arrest of a general. Eventual release.
Yeah, right. So that's like a pillar episode of our. Like, if you're gonna get introduced to us, watch that fucking episode.
Yeah, so that's on our YouTube that Michael just put in he just put in exclamation socials, and there's that link that's in chat. You click on that, and click on our YouTube. Otherwise, you can just search up Spoop Podcast, Spoop Podcast on everything: Spotify, SoundCloud, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of that. Again, thank you guys so much. Also, Abraham's Twitter is at Big Abe Rangel. It's in the title of the stream, and we'll make sure to obviously retweet it on the Twitter page. But yeah, thank you guys so much again, and we'll be back next Wednesday for another show. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Later.
Thank you, Abraham, so much.
Yeah, thank you again.
All right, everyone have a good night.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind.
Funny how the wax figures begin to melt. Regardless of how you felt. Where there's books up on a shelf that's searching for some help. Tossing coins and wishing well. Caught up inside the swell, but I'm here so you can tell. Getting to the top no matter what's in front of me. Searching for the creator to ask why they punish me. 100 seats in the crowd, connect with everyone. Hold my mother's proud of her imaginary son. Off in La La Land, trying to make sense of it. Got a hard shell, but everybody know we sensitive. E.T. trying to figure out a human. Planting all the seeds on my path into the